My name is Alan.
My name's Evan. And
welcome to All My Friends.
Dude, that was so legit.
There it is.
And we are back for another episode of your favorite podcast in the whole wide world. It is All My Friends. We've got a good one today, folks. First off, Alan, how's it going, my man?
Good. Solid day. It's Friday when we're recording this intro.
Friday.
And there's nothing better than leaving work on a Friday afternoon, especially in Seattle if it's like a nice day out.
Yep.
Just leaving the office. So
This is going to be
great.
this is going to be a loose episode for y'all because we cracked a couple cold ones, if you know what I mean. Might be drinking a couple brews as we're doing the intro here. So
cold brew.
if it gets cold brews. Yep, cold brews. If it gets a little odd and we start getting a little wacky by the end of it, I think you know why. So it's a good one. But before we get to our interview, we did interview a very special person named Soul, first hip hop artist on.
Yes, first hip hop.
Very nice guy.
Yeah, extremely nice. Local rapper from Seattle.
We did record it back in November. So if there's any like culture references that have passed since then or big events that we
I don't think so.
don't acknowledge, I don't think so either. No, I think it's good. But he, for instance, like when we interviewed him, he had just dropped a song called "If You Don't Call," and last week he dropped the video for "If You Don't Call." So there you go. Listen to the song and then watch the video.
Yeah,
it's time traveling. You know, it's pretty good.
we know ahead of time.
Exactly.
Yep.
Before we get to the interview, we do have some excellent segments. Oh, wait, before we get to that, I do want to shout out a listener of ours, probably our youngest and cutest listener, listener Baby Shay, because she went ahead and left a 5-star review. Didn't leave her favorite color, but that's okay. Just want to shout out Baby Shay, the best listener of All My Friends.
Perfect.
Anyways, getting into segments, the first segment, of course, This Week in Music, we cover what happened this week in music. First headline is a good one, Al. A good one if you stand for justice for luxury music festivals.
I do.
Yep, you do? We're talking about Fire Festival, of course. If you didn't hear about Fire Festival, it was the luxury festival that was branded via Kendall Jenner and some very fancy islands and pigs in the water. It was weird. Anyways, it was a total shit show. And the promoter / owner / founder, I couldn't tell if he was actually a founder, Billy McFarland. He could face up to 10 years in prison for lying to investors and sending fake documents around.
I really don't get how he didn't think this would backfire when he took investors' money, paid some models and some video people to
Lots
make a
of
cool
money,
intro, then took people's money from the tickets, but didn't actually have a real festival planned, basically.
Yeah.
How was that not going to backfire?
Highway robbery.
How was he going to get away with it? I just don't get that.
My big thing is, how did he not realize it was a bad idea to be starting something with Ja Rule in the year 2017? I feel like Ja
2018 is
Rule's
year.
heyday.
Last year wasn't his year, but this year,
You're
he's
right.
come back.
It might be. Also, Billy McFarland just sounds like the name of a middle school bully in like a movie. Sounds like the kid that is like the bully in the middle school, and you just want to beat him up. You're like justice against Billy McFarland.
I just think he sounds like whatever McFarland is, who does all the creation of like and the voices for Family Guy and all those guys. What's his first name?
Gosh.
Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane, our producer, executive producer, gave us that fact. Also, he is facing 8 additional lawsuits from the festival goers themselves, which is actually surprisingly less people than I thought that would try to sue him. Because if the people that pay $1,200 to go to a music festival are probably the type of people that get super trigger happy, that have lawyers and want to throw out lawsuits on everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go, Billy.
I mean, I don't have the money, but
only
theoretically.
But only 8 people trying to sue you for your festival. That's could be worse. Could be 800. Except I don't even know if 800 people went to the festival. So
no idea.
Yeah.
In other, good news for people facing the law.
These headlines are super related.
Yep. Martin Shkreli, you may know him as the Pharma Bro.
Not Farm Bro.
Yep. Evan might have said it wrong earlier. Was sentenced to 7 years for fraud. Not exactly music related. However, he will be having to give up the Wu-Tang Clan album he has and
what did he buy
the
that
Lil
for?
Wayne.
Crap, we should have looked that up.
And my favorite tidbit I saw was that one jury member excused himself from the trial by saying that Martin had insulted the Wu-Tang Clan by buying it.
Yep. That's a good reason to get out of a jury duty,
Yeah.
if anything.
Exactly.
A lot of people have good excuses for jury
I'm
duty.
biased because he insulted my
Exactly.
favorite group.
How
Perfect.
how are they supposed to hold a fair trial if you're hating on the Wu-Tang Clan? You know, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to f with. There you go.
Absolutely.
Censoring ourselves. That's a lot better. Well, yeah. So justice against the Pharma Bro there, and who knows what's going to happen to that very rare, one of a kind Wu-Tang Clan album. Next up, this one was a good one. Mr. Vince Staples, the beloved rapper from Northside Long Beach, he started a GoFundMe campaign, basically in retaliation for a lot of some hatred and lashback he was getting from this past tour he did with Tyler, the Creator. A lot of people were saying his live set's boring, that he's not even good at rapping. He can't produce full albums with, all bangers. So he basically was like, all right, well, if you don't like me at all, I might as well retire. So go ahead and I'm going to raise $2 million, $2 million. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm going to set up a GoFundMe so you can donate so you don't have to ever listen to me again. $2 million was his goal. He raised $1,500.
Pretty good.
Oh,
People gave money to him so he would go away.
You have to watch the trailer because it's a
Yeah,
joke.
it's
It's
hilarious.
obviously a joke, and it sounds like it was a part of the release.
It was a campaign for the song that came out.
What's the song called?
You can say it.
I don't even remember what it is actually.
Yep. Okay. I can say it. Get the F off my dick.
There you go. There you go. A little censored. Yeah. So it was actually a pretty badass release campaign for a good song.
It was
Mr.
pretty
Vince,
funny.
He comes through again.
Yeah.
A part of the $2 million, he said that the $2 million would go to like a condo, like a nice house somewhere in Paloma or something like
Yeah.
that. Also, a year supply of soup for the homies. So
Nice.
he's looking out for the homies.
Soup.
So that's always good. Soup's good. Lightweight. I don't know if that works well in California, but
Nope.
what else we got, Al?
Spotify launched a new tool that shows you how many female artists you listen to. Ev, how many female artists you listen to?
You know what?
As the resident Spotify endorser.
Yeah. Wait. Where's Apple Music's tool that lets you listen to how many?
All
lets
the
you know
people
how
that
many?
use Apple Music already know how many
Oh,
they
really?
listen to.
So then how many do you do, Al? You use Apple Music more than
You have
anybody.
the new tool. You tell me.
Yeah, I haven't used it. This was news to me. This is a genuine reaction. I didn't realize that Spotify put this tool out. I would love to see where this tool is.
Yeah,
and it'd
I
probably
know.
read 100%.
I really don't even know how it works, but
Yeah, I don't know.
it exists, people. So if you want to know,
So check it out in honor of, International Women's Day. Got to support, got to love. Speaking of women that we all know and love, Amazon's Alexa device apparently have been creepily laughing at their owners just at random times.
Yeah. I mean,
So that's terrifying.
yes, but also kind of hilarious. I don't own one, so I can't relate. But I just think it would be kind of funny after I got creeped out the first couple times.
Yeah, it'd be like Alexa, back at it again with the laugh. Like that'd be pretty good. Yeah, you're right. This probably isn't the most music related news that we could have talked about for this past week, but it's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Also, it's like the Disney Channel original movie Smart House. It's reality. It's a real thing now. 2018. That's a real thing.
Literally.
You have no idea.
No
what that movie
idea
is.
what
your,
that
your
is.
face went so blank when I said
Yep.
that.
You could have said anything about that Disney movie and be like, yeah,
Disney
sure.
Channel original. Come on, Al. Okay, with it. Smart House. Can't believe that you haven't seen Smart. Actually, I don't even know if I've seen Smart House, but I know it's a popular one. So yeah, that didn't go over as well as I thought it would.
You had one more headline that you found.
Yeah. This is not only a headline of things that happen in music, but also fits in our segment. That's cool. Mr. Shaquille O'Neal himself is launching a Shaq's Funhouse EDM music festival in Miami.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. Pretty big news from Mr. Shaq, who is a DJ himself, if you didn't know.
Yep.
There are videos of Shaquille O'Neal DJing. Can't say it's not awkward.
50% of me thinks that like this is gonna blow up exactly like the
Like it might be good?
Fire Festival.
Yeah.
where he's gonna
Nah,
like he's not
Shaq's
gonna do
got-
it. He's not doing it like to rip people off. He's just gonna like be like, yeah, it's pretty easy to plan a festival, right? What, I'll DJ. A couple of my friends
Yeah.
will DJ. What else do we need?
You know that on Shaq's own Fun House Music Festival, he's going to be headlining.
Yeah.
He's going to play every year. It's going to be
yeah.
great. Like that's why that's the beauty of Shaquille O'Neal is when you're a millionaire, he makes. I mean, I was going to say 100 billionaire. He makes a lot of money, so that's
Yeah.
the beauty of it. Like if you're not really that good at something, but it's a hobby, you just start your own music festival.
When you have enough money to do anything that you want in life, this is exactly the kind of thing you start.
This is what you do.
Yeah.
If you like making cars, no, that's not a good one. I was going to say, then you open your own dealership. But, you know, when you're Shaquille O'Neal, this is what you do. So
Yeah. His net worth is around $400 million. So he could
400. He's going to be all right.
He could blow a couple on this and be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was fun.
So, and then be done with it in 2 years after he loses, you know, a good amount of money. Someone should tell Shaq that, first off, there's already a huge electronic music festival that happens in Miami. So
second of all, he should tell them we're looking if he needs buyers,
we're in,
merch, anything. We'll work anywhere.
We'll come through. No, we're not hating on it. Like we're Team Shaq here. Secondly, he should probably know that like festivals in general are a declining proposition. So maybe.
But if he wants to pay us again,
we're in.
We'll be sponsored by it. Yeah,
I'm down. Shaq's Funhouse presents All My Friends.
Yeah,
that rolls off the tongue.
Absolutely.
That's the first time I ever said it. I didn't even stumble, so that's pretty good.
All right, we have a new segment,
brand new,
premiering
on episode 7.
Yeah, it's called Beef in Music. Ev, tell us about this beef.
Beef.
I legitimately have no idea what he's talking about.
Okay, this is going to be news to Alan. The segment, quick synopsis if you couldn't figure it out, is basically we just cover one thing that happened in the last little bit that's like a qualm between two artists in the music industry. So it's very fitting and very exciting that the first one we have for Beef in Music is a feud between Chris Brown and Vanessa Carlton.
Please explain.
You heard it here first, folks. Actually, didn't hear it here first, but it's 2018. Vanessa Carlton is back in headlines. Apparently, on International Women's Day, Mr. Chris Brown himself posted just a clip from White Chicks. Posted that clip of them singing the Vanessa Carlton song. Mm-hmm. You know what it is. And Vanessa Carlton commented back basically saying, I don't want you posting my song, especially on International Women's Day. You know, Chris Brown obviously doesn't have the best history when it comes to respecting women. A lot of things have gone down. He's not the greatest dude in general.
Nope.
So Vanessa Carlton standing up though, and Chris Brown even responded and saying, you know, kind of being like, oh, you know, this is me showcasing a great song by a great woman. Basically trying to cover his tracks, and he's just like not a great guy. But as more importantly, it's 2018. Vanessa Carlton back in headlines. Feels good to say.
Do you think she's put out music in the last 2 years?
No. Does it matter? No.
We'll see.
We'll check it up. Alan's going to check it up. I do think it would, a lot of people probably hate on artists like Vanessa Carlton that one song blew up 15 years ago or something like that, and now they're fairly irrelevant. It sounds like a decent life.
2017. Earlier Things Live. Ooh, Vanessa Carlton EP.
EP.
Yep.
Any bangers on there? We'll have to check it out.
We'll check it out. We'll let you know.
For the next episode, that'll be a segment we do where we check out Vanessa Carlton's
album review.
Gosh. Honestly, she might be top 10 of people we'd want to have on the podcast.
Definitely not top 10, but she'd be up there.
She'd be up top 50. Can we say top 50?
Yeah.
All right. Vanessa, if you're listening, come out on the podcast. We've got 2 more segments here. A fan favorite.
Yep.
It seems like this is going to be a weekly thing because we're always going to be able to find something about Mr. West. We got Kanye sighting.
Kanye's West. New snow parka is apparently the ultimate snow day jacket.
Yep. Kanye finds a way. He finds a way to stay in the news. Apparently he's coming out with his own snow parka.
Yep.
Or has it out. My thoughts on this is Kanye, it makes sense that he's coming out with a snow parka because he seems like the type of guy who's probably always cold. Like he keeps a jacket on when he's in the studio. You know?
I don't think he understands that it's like people right now are like, spring, summer coming along. And he's like, nope, dropping a new line. It's the winter line.
Listen, man, if Kanye wants to go against the grain, I trust that guy knows what he's doing when he's going against the grain.
Fair enough.
You know, but a snow parka, he just seems like a guy that, would really value a good snow parka. So
he would.
I'm with it, Kanye. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get some for next winter though.
Yeah. And our last segment, bringing back a fan favorite as well. We're bringing back our sponsorships. Trying to look out for our friends, artists.
Oh yeah. Alan's way more prepared on this one than I am. So
we got a few sponsorships for them.
Oops.
So I'll start us off with just a simple one.
Wait, a quick recap. What is? Oh, it's basically
we're gonna shout out some sponsorships,
some possible sponsorships for artists that we like.
A little connection for them.
Yeah, you get it.
My good one, first one, Bruno Mars. He just needs a tour presented by Mars Bars.
Ooh.
Mars Bars presents Bruno Mars.
Okay. Or even should do
You get a little-
Elon Musk should like back the next Bruno Mars record because SpaceX.
Nah.
Go to Mars.
What, you're going to get a Tesla every time you go to a show? No. You go to a show, you get a little Mars bar. Oh, hungry mid-show.
That would be
you
a
get
more
little
enjoyable
bar.
show.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's a more enjoyable show. Let's see. I got one obvious one. I love the obvious ones. The band Group Love should be sponsored by Group Health. Get that? Pretty good.
Yeah.
You show up to the show. There's like paramedics everywhere, take care of you. I don't know if that's really how it works.
You can get a little like checkup.
Free health insurance.
Yeah.
Going to a Group Love show is basically like living in Sweden.
Perfect.
Sweden? Do they have it? Universal healthcare? They probably do.
Yeah, we'll say they do.
Yeah. What do you got?
Chainsmokers. Again, it's a little connection. Marlboro Light.
Yep.
Light to be specific. Why?
Ooh.
The music isn't the best,
Ooh.
but it's pretty good. Could be worse.
I feel
and
it.
it's kind of addictive. Sometimes they put out
it's
one or two
definitely
songs
addictive.
that you can't stop listening to.
Paris? Paris is a hit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love playing Paris.
There you go.
Also, it's probably better to have light cigarettes if you are a chain smoker. So you're just smoking a ton.
Exactly.
You probably want to go light. I don't know the difference between a light cigarette and a normal cigarette.
Couldn't tell you either, but I figured it was better.
I did ask Diet Sig when we had them on the podcast. When I had them on my podcast for that one episode. Best episode. That was the highest ranking episode we've ever had, by the way.
Nope.
Here's a good one. I hope this goes over well. Run the Jewels should be sponsored by Shane Co. Get it?
Yeah.
Shane Co., the diamond jeweler.
Yep.
I was trying to remember like what the crossroads are. I feel like those are the radio ads that you always hear Shane Co. talking about.
Or K Jewelers or whatever.
Yeah, K Jewelers. Yeah.
Perfect.
Every kiss begins with Killer Mike. That's what it could be. That'd be pretty good.
Pretty good. My last one, less of a sponsorship. It's just I'm trying to, all our friends, I'm trying to combine them, turn them into friends.
Okay.
Lana Del Rey and Beyonce should go on tour together. Why, you're wondering?
I am wondering that.
First, who wouldn't buy a ticket to that show?
True.
Everyone.
Be the biggest show in
But
the world.
the promo is just a king and a queen side by side. Lana Del Rey and Queen Bee.
Oh, Del Rey.
Yep.
I get it.
Yep.
See, for all you
And
bilingual,
two women headliners.
it's great.
Everyone would go.
I mean, I think those do. Yeah, you're pulling up. If you pull out Beyonce card, obviously you're pulling out the big ones there. God, those are good. That's a good segment.
Yeah.
That's a good one. We got to do that more often. Well, with that, we are going to get right into our interview with Mr. Saul because it is a bit of a longer one. We didn't want to waste too much time on the front end here. Again, it was a great interview. We did it last November, so we sat down and talked everything from him being a full-time musician that's considered local but actually has a fan base, nationwide.
Yeah. How important his whole brand is to him. All
Very
the work
particular
he
guy.
does.
Yeah.
Not just obviously the music, but everything outside of that.
We talk Seattle music stuff.
Yeah.
His experience with the Macklemore stuff going down as he was an artist in the same realm. What's coming up for him? So it was awesome. He was great. Also, he's playing Capitol Hill Block Party.
Shout out.
2018, July 20 to 22.
Has a new album coming out soon as well.
Yep, he will
So
have a new
keep an eye
record.
out for
So
that.
very exciting. With that, here is Soul.
If you don't call, yeah, and you think about me, don't worry, I'm good. Yeah, still care about you, never call, but you could. Either way, I'll be good. Either way, I'll be good. If you don't call, when you think about me, don't worry, I'm good. Either way, I'll be good. Either way, I'll be good. If you don't call, either way, I'll be good. Either way, I'll be good. When we kicked it every day, we was something like one and the same, two sides of the brain. Now we don't talk, we went opposite ways. What happened, I couldn't honestly say. Just part of living life, I guess. People move on, everything ends like it's a song, can't repeat it, even your jam. You knew it by heart, even your friends, they treat like your fam, like the son of your mom. Love some women like my sisters, how they cutting me off. I got exes I could text whenever something was wrong. Now they married out in Texas and they husband got a gun. So we don't talk, if you don't call, yeah. And you think about me, don't worry, I'm good. Yeah, still care about you, never call, but you could. Either way, I'll be good. Either way, I'll be good. If you don't call, either way, I'll be good. Either way, I'll be good. Don't
We're in an
worry,
undisclosed
I'm
location
alright.
in Seattle, Washington, with a very special guest,
Oh shit.
the one and only Seattle's own Saul. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Shout out to you guys for getting me out of the house.
Yeah, it's a big Sunday.
I've been in the bunker lately, putting out new singles. I'm shooting a video next week. Merch dropping tomorrow. You know, it's just very much a full-time grind of just creating music and content.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It comes in waves, and when you're busy, you just gotta ride the wave.
Yeah.
So.
Well, is the video for the new song?
Yeah, the video is
Okay.
for the last song that we just put out last week, which is called "If You Don't Call." But I have a song coming out for my birthday called "Legacy," which will probably be out by the time anybody hears this.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I'm still working on the project, and so that's what's going on in work life, you
Nice.
know. Yeah, it's fun. I feel like it's really, really important to treat every aspect of what you're doing as an extension of the art, and it becomes that much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because I'm not out here like I'm not a copywriter. I don't want to like stress out too much about like what the Instagram caption is gonna be or what time we release the song. Like let that be an extension of like the creativity. So everything visually and all that stuff is. I'm treating it a little bit more like it's art now. I don't know if you saw the last song release. but
No, it's great. We're going
definitely
to
just trying to
ask a bunch of questions on that.
Yeah,
Yes.
trying to do different shit, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just jump into that right now. And,
Yeah.
like, the song is called, excuse me, If You Don't Call, right? Okay, got it. And just explain how you release it, because it's such a unique way where you essentially bought or you figured out a phone number that people could call, and once they picked up, it was your song. So how
Yeah,
did that happen? I don't even understand.
It's
how-
like it's pretty like there's a service for everything. So it was a pretty straightforward process, but just a thoughtful, you know, okay, there's music that's released every day. What can I do to make the experience of people connecting and listening into my song be different? And so that's the headspace that I'm in just off top right now. And when I was making this song, I was actually in LA recording it with the producer Teal. He's down there, but he's from up here. Went to Garfield. I've worked with him for a long time. And I was staying with my brother and his wife who lived down there. And I just got home from the studio. I was like smoking one with my brother and playing him what I just did. And I have to give much credit to him. Like he's a genius artist as well. He's a graphic designer and works as a creative director at like an ad agency. And so he's kind of in that world now, but he's an artist. And so like I played him the song. It's if you don't call and you think about me, you know, it's kind of talking about these lost relationships where people just stop calling each
Ghosting.
other, you know, and over time, you know, less and less contact, or you have a falling out. And he was listening to the song. He's like, man, you should. His first idea was, you should make the artwork like these London Tart cards, which are these old like vintage sex ads from. I think they kind of first started popping off in like the 50s, maybe, but they're still a thing now. But they really started out as this really lo-fi type of business card for how to get a prostitute. And so in phone booths, in like phone booths, or like where the ATM would be at, you know, in like downtown London, the walls were just covered with these little contact cards.
It's like in Vegas on the street, like the
Exactly.
little flip
The
cards.
It started in
Yeah,
London, and
yeah.
then like
Okay.
eventually came to Vegas. But like that industry and that way of advertising for sex came from London, and it's actually really similar to a lot of the punk stuff that would come out, like punk posters in the 60s and 70s, and even like a lot of the grunge like zines,
Yeah.
zine culture of just this like black ink on colored paper or whatever, and really kind of minimal cut and paste type of like graphics. And so that was his idea, and he actually had a coffee table book like full of these. It's like called Tart cards. It's just like the history of
It's
this,
all sex related?
all sex ads.
Oh, wow.
Like just
Are they dope, actually? Like,
they're
it's
really
cool
dope,
art?
and it's aged well. And so for me, it felt very like current, like there's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
second wave, you know, where it aesthetically works
Yeah.
right now. And the song doesn't even. It's not a raunchy song at all or anything, but the whole idea of it has this kind of analog, like a lot of synth sounds and stuff, and the idea of, you know, if you don't call, he was just like, you should make it like an ad to call Saul. and he wasn't even referencing the show Call Saul. But
Right.
there's that layer to it too. But then I was like, man, if we're gonna have a number on it, it's gotta be a real number. And he's
Yeah.
like, yup. And then so I just started doing the research and found a way to, when anybody calls this number that I bought, I can control what happens. So I can change it. I could make it a new song now.
Okay, so you could be
And say, hey, like, call me back.
Yeah.
You know, there's another
So here's
song.
the next one, yeah.
Or whatever.
That's sick.
And people can even text it and stuff. But
What happens if you text it?
I can text back.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
So it goes.
Yeah.
What is it? But is it
So
going to your
some
computer?
service.
Does
Yeah,
it go
yeah,
into
like
like
I log in.
Okay.
You know, and it's
Then
not
you're pulling
my
up his
real
phone.
number.
No, it's not.
That's for sure.
You didn't Mike Jones?
No.
Remember when Mike Jones put his number out?
Yeah,
That was
he
sick.
did.
No, but yeah, I mean, it's nothing. I'm not the first person to do it or anything
Yeah.
like that, but it was just super on point for what the song message is. And there's an actionable thing for people to do. And there's even a unique listening experience because they're literally having the phone to their ear, or they put it on speaker, or they plug the aux into the phone. It sounds like it's coming through a phone. It was lo-fi, which from a quality standpoint, it was horrible quality.
Right.
But it created a aesthetic
Yeah.
and a unique listening experience. And then we released the song like later that week.
So how important is it to you when you're putting out music to have a brand like that? Like in this case, it was very specific to the song. How important is it to you to do that with your music in general? Not necessarily every song, obviously, is going to be a single like this
Yeah.
that comes out with such a specific marketing campaign.
I think it's super important. I mean, in this day and age, there's so many people making art. You have to really kind of create a lane for yourself, but I think it has to come from a genuine place. You can't just go left when everyone's going right.
Yeah.
But then there's a million different lefts. Like, what exactly are you doing though? You know, so it has to still be. You have to have some sort of compass or some sort of direction that you identify as who you are as an artist. And there's a certain amount of consistency that has to come with that, so people can start to understand who you are. And so when they say, "Oh, have you heard of Saul?" He is, and what they say about you is hopefully going to be partially what you are projecting out there. So you are conscious about what you're doing, whether it's with the way that you dress yourself, the way that your live show looks, what you talk about in your music. And that's a lot to think about. So for me, I oftentimes kind of go back to really simplifying it to just making it about that continued search, which we all have, which is who are we? And like, what is our purpose? Like these age-old things that people, whether it be in like China 2,000 years ago or in, Seattle right now, like everybody, whether they're a philosopher or an artist or just some kid trying to figure it out, has the same questions. So focus on that, and hopefully as an artist you continue to carve out like a more unique lane.
Yeah.
Just by like knowing yourself better.
Yeah. That's
so-
good advice for like anybody.
Yeah.
Just not whether you make music or not. I mean,
Yeah.
I think people don't recognize that that's like such a part of life.
And
It's
that's
just-
an okay thing to not have
For
that
sure.
figured out. That's one of the biggest things I learned, because I've struggled with like things like anxiety and stuff in the past, and a lot of what has helped me like fight that or kind of get to a functioning place with things like anxiety is to be like, yo, okay, I don't have it all figured out. Nothing is happening overnight, and it never does. Like this is just normal life, and it's as far as like figuring out who you are. Hopefully that's an ongoing thing for as long as you're around.
Yeah.
You don't become stagnant.
for sure.
So taking it back, I guess, a little bit in that vein, when did you decide to kind of make that jump and just focus on music 100%? And how scary was that decision of like deciding, all right, this is what I'm going to dedicate myself to for the X amount of years?
You're a full-time musician, right?
Yeah.
Full time, 100%. No day job.
So that started. That was like there's this intersection between me already starting my music career while I was still in college, and then being at a point by the time I graduated that I was able to support myself. So
So have you never had a job?
no, I've had a couple.
I'd have been sick though.
But not really though, because the first one was my family restaurant in Eastern Washington. where I started out as a dishwasher, and I made my way to server from age 11 to age 16. So it's like child labor. Like,
Seriously.
you know, like, but it was
Was it Haitian food?
No. Okay. So this is like extended family.
Okay.
Actually, not blood family, but part of the family that raised
Right
me.
on.
And it was just like an American style restaurant in Winthrop, Washington, which is like an hour east of Chelan.
Yeah.
Very
Poppin'.
random place. But you know, I went out there during the summers and stuff, and I learned about customer service. I learned about work ethic. I learned a lot of things I shouldn't have learned at such a young age, just being in the
11?
restaurant business.
Yeah, 11.
Seriously.
And I was exposed to, horseback riding. I learned how to shoot guns. I kissed girls, and just all that stuff. It was just like a very unique experience that came partially from having that type of job and partially from just being in such a bizarre environment, so much different than Seattle.
Yeah.
So learned a lot from that from a work standpoint, but not a normal job.
Yeah.
And then I worked at a group home for kids with autism for a while I was in college. I sold weed around the same time while I was in
nice.
college.
You're a rapper, right?
All just like trying actually to support the studio time,
Yeah, for
because I've always paid for my own studio time, and I actually came up at a really, really professional studio that was certainly not free, but I always just found a way to make it happen and invested in myself, even while I was still 14, 15. And so by the time that I put in my 10,000 hours and I was graduating from college, the investment had started to come back around. I don't know at what point I would have technically broken even, because over the years, tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars invested in myself.
Yeah.
And then when it came back, then I was at a point where I was able to support myself and some of the people around me. It's been, I think, 6 years since I graduated from college, and music is everything every
100%.
day.
So what do you do during the day? I mean, obviously you're not. I assume you're not in the studio literally every single day. Though rappers say that, and it's like
I was just. I mean, some people are.
Yeah, probably
And, and sometimes I envy them, because at the end of the day, my job is to make music, and I'm the only one that can make my music.
You're your own boss.
But because I'm an independent artist in 2017, I end up doing a lot of other stuff besides just making the music, which I think is what you're getting at. And so, daily routine. I mean, today's a Sunday, right? But woke up. I was out pretty late last night at the Avi's prototype sessions.
Oh, okay,
At at Love City Love, which was cool. But then woke up at about 9 and met with my graphic designer, and we were actually talking about this whole thing of how to, I do wish that I was able to be writing music as the priority of my day every day. But I end up in the studio about once or twice a week. I have a home studio, so whenever I'm inspired, I can record there. But there's always a different list of things to do every day.
Yeah.
So today I met with my graphic designer, and we finalized a poster design that's going out with merch that's dropping tomorrow. We have we had some updates to do to the website. We kind of went over some of the social media stuff that's happening over the next week, because I have merch coming out as well as a new song coming out. So you do have to kind of plan these things out.
Yeah.
And so worked on that, and then had a phone call with this director down in Portland, Noah Porter, who's done my last few
did
videos.
The Happiness video?
Yeah, he did the Happiness. He did.
Such a filthy video.
Yeah, that's an underrated video.
Seriously, it seriously is the fucking. I mean, a lot of your videos are very popular, but the production level of that. I watched it this morning just to refresh my brain, and the whole wall dropping down. Was that on an actual?
I was on a crane.
It's like a forklift, right?
Yeah,
there's something weird about it. Is it a forklift?
Yeah, it's a forklift. Yeah. I was on a car.
In some park.
No, it's in somebody's yard, actually. If you look...
There's a lady behind with the dog.
I've learned to embrace the lady.
Yeah, man.
But I didn't want her in the shot.
Nah,
There's a lady walking her dog.
It's a good thing he's blurry enough you don't have to credit her or pay her out or anything like that.
If anyone hasn't seen the video,
if you haven't seen the video,
you should go check it out.
Yeah.
It's
So
a very underrated
Noah
video.
Porter, he's amazing, and I've done probably my last 4 videos with him. And he is doing this one, and we're shooting it in Portland. And it's for If You Don't Call, and he's got this crazy treatment every time. We just keep topping the last thing that we did, and for this one, with everything that I have going on in Seattle, getting ready also for this Key Arena show.
Yep.
I'm just like, all right, we can do this. Like, you know, and here's the budget, blah, blah, blah. But we got to do it in Portland. Like, you got to pull some of these, like, because when we do it in Seattle, I end up
Calling all
being
the
much
favorites.
more of a producer, which I am on this. Like, at this, when you're doing art at this level with your friends and you're trying to do really crazy shit, you got to wear many hats. Like, people are doing, you know, people are really, really committed. We have a big budget for this video, all things considered, and it's all getting spent. Like, Noah's not making any money. I will make money if things come around.
It goes well, right.
Through shows
That's how
and
it all-
whatever.
Eventually.
But
On the
these-
back end.
Yeah, but these things are investments, and it's the same as when I was investing in studio time before I was even selling a single CD, where you invest in doing dope shit. And that's the business plan.
Yeah.
You know, is just make everything as cool as possible.
Seriously. So do you have a manager now? Do you have an agent? Like, what's the team around you other than just friend connections?
Yeah.
even?
Well, I mean, people who talk about like not working with your friends, I feel bad for them because
They clearly don't have trusted people. They can
Well,
work
yeah,
with.
I guess, or they just maybe they had bad falling outs that I've been really lucky to not. I have a really strong group of collaborators who all happen to also be my best friends, and some of them were my friends first. Some of them, you know, became band members or crew, like people on my team, and then because of the close work relationship, we become best friends, and I end up in their wedding or whatever, you know. And so everybody around me, I have a really intimate relationship with, and that's like the nucleus of my team. There have been positions and people who have moved in and out throughout the years because I've had my business, so to speak, you know, for a while, and so not everybody is going to be around for your entire life. That's one of the things I learned about management is a lot of times I was really hung up on like finding my soulmate manager, who I'm
Pat?
still down for.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
if they come
Down.
along.
Yeah. If anyone's listening.
But it's much, you know, at the end of the day, you also have to recognize, like, okay, there are people who might not make sense for your career and where you're going to be at maybe 5 years from now, but they're a totally valuable asset and worth the pay or the percentage or whatever it is for where you're at, and they're going to help you get to the next point, and hopefully you're helping them get to the next point of their career. And that's the most important thing, whether it be management, producers, band members, agents, record labels even, is if you are helping each other, it's a symbiotic relationship. It's not a bad thing. Yeah, it's not like they're just taking from you and you're taking from them. And you know, and when I first came out, I had certain conversations and possible opportunities that I was too naive to recognize as maybe helping me actually push the needle and get where I want to go. But because in principle I was against record labels or I'm so self-made that I didn't want to give a manager
10%,
or 15. I was like, nah, man,
No.
15's too much, or whatever.
Exactly.
But it's like, 15% of that of so much more, it pays for itself, you know.
Yeah.
With that said, I've had many of those relationships where I've had people help me get to where I'm at, like, you know, and I wouldn't be where I am without so many people. So I've definitely had many beautiful relationships. But what I recognize throughout the years that I've had as a working musician and as a entrepreneur is that people do come in and out of your life just like in real life. So yeah, like the homie Jake used to manage me. He's in New York now, doing like a totally different life tip, married, and I will have a future manager that I haven't met yet, and that doesn't mean that they are going to be like the person forever.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so I guess my expectations are more realistic now.
It's good.
You know, but these are the people that are in the trenches with you, so
Yeah.
you really have to like be able to count on each other, and it's amazing, and I'm always so humbled and grateful, especially when things get crazy and we're in a cycle, putting out an album, going on the road, really pushing myself to my limit and pushing every single person around me to their limit, including the people in my family and stuff, how supportive people are.
Yeah.
And that when it comes down to it and shit needs to get done, the guys in my band, you know, the homies helping me with all the graphic design stuff and everything, people are pulling all-nighters. People are just we're not compromising. And so I've learned how to bring that out of people.
Yeah.
But it's not something that comes necessarily with being an artist. But as an artist and as somebody who's going to be a working artist, you have to become then a leader and even low-key like a boss.
Yeah.
And be able to bring that out of people.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you're independent like you are, you don't have a lot of necessarily like the label team doing part of that work. Is you're in charge and
You're making your own version.
yeah,
Yeah.
that gives you your liberties to do whatever you want, but it
Yeah.
also means it's your responsibility in a lot of ways for
Yeah.
whatever happens to happen.
So to answer your question, I gave you a lot of like environmental like this is what the environment is like with like building a team. But for me right now, my team, my main people are the people that I make music with, and that's Nima and Elon, who also play my band.
Yeah.
So Nima plays drums, Elon plays
Shout out the
bass and
Zillas.
guitar. Shout
Yeah.
out to the Zillas. They have a new like side project they're doing as
heard.
well. Now Waters. They have a studio that most of Seattle records at.
Is it
and,
Brian's old studio?
yeah, Ben and Ryan's old, Mac and Ryan's old studio, and so that place
Humble
has
name drop there.
Yeah,
Good
I
first
mean,
name basis. I like
it has a
History.
and
For sure
a
it
vibe,
does.
and these guys, Neiman and Elon, are creating. Actually, in my opinion, I mean, you can't really compare it, but they have dozens and dozens of artists of the present and the future Seattle music
Yeah.
that are recording there, creating their own stuff. Before that, it was the bedrock to where like the heist was made,
Yeah.
which is a lot. But this is a whole generation of Seattle music that is now coming out of this place.
Yeah.
So
Who do you
that's
think is
pretty
the
magical.
next kid to come out of Seattle?
Yeah.
Well, like that's always so weird. What does that
Yeah.
mean? Like
Dude,
the next,
like to really to find success out of the city. That's what I always
To,
tell
like,
people.
tour and
like
do your
like
thing.
we have legitimately 5 to 8 artists that could headline Numos, a 650 capacity club, and the show would sell out or do very well. Like that's impressive.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that they can do more than 100 people in San Francisco. Like it's
Right.
a tough thing to have that to break out of this city because we're in an isolated part of the country. Like
Yeah.
that's the realistic situation that we're looking at is that we're in a corner and we're not supposed to have this budding music scene, but we do.
Yeah.
So that just makes it tougher when we have this plethora of artists trying to make it out of Seattle. Well, that's what I notice at least. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know if you could speak to the isolation of it, but who do you really think is like going to find success on a larger level outside of Seattle?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it'd be hard not to say Travis,
Yeah.
but he already is, though. So, I mean, he just went on a national tour, like a huge national tour. And I'm sure he had fans coming out to those shows already, and now he has so many more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because he has the type of music and the type of live show and personality that he's going to win people over. That's a big thing about being an opener. So I'd love to see more people get on the road, whether they are ready for it or not, because you got to cut that teeth and, like, really win fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and so some of the first tours that I went on were not super sexy, you know what I mean? But I'd get out there and I'd play Salt Lake City for 200 people, and you know, and maybe 100 of them were mine, or you know, whatever, or nobody knows who I am, and I'm just an opener, and you make that impression, and so. That takes an investment and a belief in yourself that's going to be worth it, and it takes connections, obviously,
Yeah.
as well. You can't just jump on a tour.
200 people in Salt Lake
Nothing.
is solid, by the way.
Yeah.
For a lot of these people, 200 in Salt Lake would be fucking tight.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, and there's dope venues out there all over the
Yeah.
place, and there's artists that people can trade shows with, and so you can really take a very DIY like approach to it. So whoever's gonna be the next person, it's up to them to a certain degree, like because you could just get out of Seattle, you just make it happen one way or another. As far as whose music is really, in my opinion, but I'm just analyzing from my corner
Yeah.
Right.
while I'm doing my own thing. So
Yeah.
I don't even have my finger on the pulse of everybody else, right? I'm trying to take care of what's next for me. But I do, you know, you see me, I go to a lot of shows and I check out people, and I think it's really important to support the other artists. And so, I mean, obviously I think Ryan Carveo is doing his thing. His new
Dude,
music is really connecting.
Chicks love him. No, I know it's not very respectful to call women chicks, but like 16, 17-year-old girls love Ryan.
That's important.
It's like, seriously, it's
Yeah.
a fan base that's like, a lot of these
Yeah.
Seattle hip hop artists, they don't have
yeah.
that
base.
younger
Yeah.
female fan base, which is like, you know, just looking at demographics of things, it's like a lot of,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the backpack kind of internet vibe right now. So, but Ryan's a pretty boy, so it's like he's a good-looking dude who has like no, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean like his videos.
I'm sure he knows.
I would say that's
I'm
Ryan's
sure he
face.
knows he's pretty boy. And you wouldn't be the first
It's
to tell
polished.
him that.
It's polished. You know, like, and he's a bit of a perfectionist, I'm sure. But
Which
like his
is good, which
videos,
is
his
important.
on-stage show. Every time I do a show with him, I'm like, I know that he's not. It's never going to be half-assed. It's
Yeah.
polished, high quality.
Yeah.
Which is like that's why he's successful, and I
Exactly.
think he has a very bright future ahead of him. But
Yeah,
it's
for
like,
sure. There's so many dope people like
yeah.
doing cool shit.
Who's like underrated then? Give us maybe obviously Travis Thompson, Ryan Herrera, some of these bigger, quotations around bigger names, but still like
yeah.
underrated or some.
Man, I
Bieber
think-
was talking about Tacoma Kids.
Yeah,
Bieber really likes
no,
Tacoma
yeah. There's a
Kids.
lot of dope stuff coming out of Tacoma. I think naturally, just the way that things are happening in Seattle, there's a space for a scene like Tacoma to start popping, even with like these parties that kids are throwing, like the Toe Jam parties and stuff. It's Seattle is not affordable anymore for artists in general. Like just to live here and to have time to make art, people are working so many jobs and stuff, and so a place that's slightly more affordable and more working class and just has a little bit more of its identity still. Seattle is in a weird identity spot, and so I think a lot of what people really connected to about Seattle hip hop maybe 5 years ago, they can still get that authenticity out of Tacoma when in general Seattle is in an identity crisis. The artists here, the people from here, we're still here, but the local community is changing.
And you're referencing that into like the bigger companies that are coming in here and
Or,
straight
yeah,
up
just-
changing, or is
yeah.
it like you think Seattle music, like music
I mean,
sound?
I
has like an
think the
identity crisis?
32-year-old, 35-year-old dude or woman who just got brought to Amazon and is living in South Lake Union is much less likely to seek out local music than somebody from this community.
Yeah.
There's a pride that people have. It's like rooting for your home basketball team. Like, it's weird. I'm not as much of an NBA fan because we don't have the Sonics.
Yep.
And it's like people love to love an artist that is from their city.
That pride.
And so if the majority of people living in Seattle are not from Seattle anymore, we don't have that like home field advantage as much.
Do you think that's why there hasn't been that many kind of artists that have really kind of popped off after Macklemore? Because I feel like that was also around the time the city started to change a little bit more. And there's been a couple, and there's been success, but
You being,
Yeah,
I mean, you must have seen a spike in success, exposure. I mean, I just remember like really when the heist was popping, the amount of articles. Oh, here's 6 artists you should know from Seattle that aren't Macklemore. Something like that. Like, did you notice something from your?
Oh, for sure,
perspective?
of course.
Yeah.
I think there's a proverb: "A rising tide raises all boats." I mean, people could poke holes, no pun intended, in that theory, but it's still like there was a spotlight on the city after he blew up, and I think a lot of people benefited from that. I think it also kind of got in people's psyche as well. I saw firsthand how hard those guys work and were working to get to where they got, and I can say nobody, myself included, has put in that type of grind. Like I straight up, I know that I haven't made some of the sacrifices that those guys made to get where they're at, and a lot of that was a conscious decision. You know, I left the country at a moment when I could have kicked things into second gear with this whole pursuit of stardom. I chose a different path, and like that's been my journey. And I can't speak to other artists, but I think a lot of people saw that success, and then their imagination as to what is possible became like a higher ceiling. And I think that's for the better, because people can imagine themselves getting to a further point before people maybe had a more short-sighted view. But you have to think about the steps to like get to that next level.
Yeah.
And so I think part of the problem, I for the record, I think we're in a good place, like Seattle hip hop, Seattle music. So I don't want to say like part of the problem, but I would say one of the things that I think we could do as a community is really, really focus on not skipping any steps. I think a lot of people get frustrated when things don't happen overnight, and it's like, yo, play that Chop Suey show, sell it out, then do the Crocodile, sell it out, space your shows out. Like, you should never have, if you're doing headline local shows, you should never have more than one every 6 months. I operate by the philosophy of like once a year.
Yeah.
Granted, sometimes I space them out more than most people, but you should space them out. You should be methodical about how you release your music. You should be consistent. There's a lot of things that we can do as a community to, like, every year there should be like this list of classic local albums that come out.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like people need to be releasing projects. But I'm old school, like, but like it's important. It's like Dave B just put out an amazing project. Pearl, like Neiman Elon with the homie Darius did the production. That is now like a benchmark for him and a stepping stone for the next thing. Yeah. And it's like, even though we live in this time of singles and stuff, like that is the chapter now. Like Pearl is a chapter for him.
Yep.
And then like, so the more and more that our scene is just prolific and people are doing important, dope shows, like you talk about Ryan pays attention to detail and stuff, like that is something to take note of. And so like that's why like I was at that show just watching and taking notes. Just like I take notes from anybody. And even though he, you know, he's like a younger brother to me, I learn from him and see what he does. I learn from anybody. And so keep learning from each other, keep it competitive, but still support each other. Yeah. And I think we'll keep rising. To answer your question about why there hasn't been another blow up like Macklemore, is because those things happen like once every 20 years. It's like a shooting star. Yeah. So much of it is timing and circumstance. And not to take anything away from their grind. Like I said, they're the hardest working people that I know. But you cannot bank on that level of success. Otherwise, you'll probably be let down, you know?
Yeah,
so,
no, absolutely.
I think it's just a matter of time. Like, I think somebody else will, hopefully, surpass what he's done. But it's not a competition. I think the more people that are eating it's good. Like, that's a better goal for me, is like how many people are supporting themselves.
Yeah, the way I've always looked at Seattle is there's a lot of talent, and I hope that it'll get to the point, and I think it is getting better and better, that it'll be something like, we've talked about this before, but like Toronto or something, where 6 or 7 artists from Toronto that aren't Drake at that level, obviously, but they're still big headliners nationally, and I'm hoping Seattle will get to that point with hip-hop.
Yeah.
Because I think the talent is there.
For sure. I think part of it is that we are honestly in the corner of a country.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I always tell people that Seattle's not supposed to be a top 5 market for music, live music specifically, in the country, but it is. You know, like obviously we were not as large or successful as New York and LA, but like then you'd go to Chicago, you'd visit Nashville maybe, and then you'd have to argue Seattle, which is insane. It's like Vancouver and Portland are markets because of us. Like touring wise, it's so out of the way.
Oh, for sure.
Yet we've made it like this staple.
And it wasn't even like this 10 years ago.
No.
Like, me growing up as a kid, going to shows in Seattle and throwing shows in Seattle, it was we have come so far. It was so rare that the artists that you wanted to see would even come to this part of this country. Because, like you said, after San Francisco, it's a 9-hour drive to Portland. It's pretty miserable kind of. Low key, like it's not the safest drive. Like it's a tough drive. Most people, you got to take a day off before that drive, and it costs money to take a day off. And then you do Portland, like you said, these will really be like BC level markets. Yeah. You do Portland, maybe it wasn't the greatest show. Seattle, probably you're surprised, hopefully, because there's always a good crowd in Seattle. People are down to dance. People, whenever they come, they're glad they did. Sure. And then hopefully they keep coming back. I think it's part of the reason why it's built is because we have a great audience here. And then you got to deal with the border, and you go to Vancouver and they're taking a cut of your merch or whatever. You're late, they're not letting you through, and so it's a hassle.
It's just not set up, you know.
But it's changed a lot. I think you're right. It's really dope. Yeah, for
super reassuring. Just to wind back, because I think the whole Macklemore thing is extremely interesting for many reasons, mainly because I moved out here 8 years ago. So when I first heard him, it was Versus EP.
Yeah.
It was like, these kids there's something here. You know, there's something. There's an excitement around it.
For sure.
But it wasn't that the guy's going to have a diamond song, that he's going to be 5-time Grammy, you know, whatever, like all these things. It's like, no one predicted that. So
I mean, every step of the way, it was so fun, man. Every step of the way for those guys was like a new milestone.
It was like when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. I honestly felt like such a hometown win. And I'm not even from here, but like there was such a pride around it. But I always like asking people, when did you know that it was something bigger?
For them?
For them specifically. And I don't want to make it a podcast about Macklemore, but I just think it's such a staple thing for the city.
For sure. Well, like I said, I left the country after I put out my album, Yours Truly. I got a fellowship from the University of Washington to travel abroad, kind of just like it wasn't a blank check, but it was enough money for me to travel for 10 months.
10.
to 10 countries.
Shout out to you, Dub.
And crazy fellowship, life-changing thing. And while I was gone was when Thrift Shop came out. Thrift Shop video came out. The album came out. It went to #1. The Heist video, the Can't Hold This video, all that stuff. Actually, I might have just got back when Can't Hold This came out. But there was so much that was happening while I was gone. But the moment, because I had internet, I would go to internet cafes and random places in Uganda or whatever. Just really bizarre, just tapping in.
It was all in Africa?
No, I was in India for 2 months, East Africa for 4 months, South Africa, South America, and the Caribbean. That was when I went back to Haiti for the first time. Okay. It was dope. And so I was checking in, but it was me seeing what was happening back home. For me, when I realized I was really on some crazy, crazy shit, was I was in the club in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Thrift Shop came on.
No.
Yeah.
They go off? People love it?
Yeah, people knew it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, people knew it. And I was just like, wow.
And
then maybe a month later, I was in Bogota, Colombia at a house party, and somebody like brought up one of his videos, and it wasn't even like one of the turn up songs. It was like the other side or something.
Okay.
And all these Colombians like at the house party were just standing around the computer watching this video and blown away by it. Some of them didn't even speak English.
Wow.
But for some reason they just knew they just liked it, connected, you know?
It's wild. I mean, he's unarguably the most successful hip hop artist out of Seattle.
Oh, 100%.
It's he's reached, and I think obviously there's still a lot of hometown love. You're playing a show at Key Arena with him, and he's doing back-to-back nights. Like there's never been a fall off for our support for him, but people kind of like, I don't know. I think he's gotten his identity has changed obviously since the second record and all those things.
But you know,
as it happens,
it's so interesting because so much of that is just like perception, like people, like the way that people view you changes, you know, and so that's been one of the crazier things. I really pick up on those types of things, and it's been an interesting thing for me to watch his success and see what it's done to him, to other people, and then even to myself, and to kind of just like analyze, or not just analyze, but just reflect on that. You know, like when you become that popular, like how do things change? You know, and so like because like he kind of got vilified. You know?
Which is like
absolutely.
You know, so that was really that was interesting, especially just knowing him so well and knowing that he's such like a dope person with good intention. You know, and so you can maybe make a couple like missteps along the way, but never really do anything wrong, and still people will just
they just want a reason to hate something that's
and so
successful.
For me, that kind of was just like, all right, like that's how the world works, I guess, but that's unfortunate, you know, and so and like that's not what we get in to making music for. Like people like us, we do it like from the soul and for the soul, and so when it really becomes this whole like TMZ gossip type of just like, are you cool? Are you not cool? Blah blah blah. That shit gets corny to me, and so I kind of tapped out and stopped caring as much about what like critics think, and try to start to focus more on like the people who love and support you think.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's what I mean. Those will be the people that ride with you.
Yeah, and they will always outnumber the critics.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're opening for Macklemore at Key Arena. Is this the biggest show you think like you've played so far?
I've played Key Arena once before, but it was a different circumstance.
Bumbershoot?
No, it was We Day. Have you heard of We Day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Russell
like
Wilson was there.
Russell Wilson
isn't he
always
like big?
Yeah, it was the year that Sierra performed too. So it's like this.
Were they together at that time?
Yeah,
Oh.
It's like this pep rally for kids who have expressed like social awareness and done things in school to kind of earn.
It's like a motivational kind of deal.
Yeah,
right?
and it's cool. And so I did that, and it was packed out, like 17,000, like middle school, high school kids. But that was like almost like one of those like built-in audience. You know, like they were there for the pep rally, super supportive, dope crowd, won a lot of fans, had fans already. It was a great experience. Yeah. This is a Seattle hip hop moment, and I think it's so dope that they like invited all these different Seattle artists for both nights, and so that's my favorite thing about it. And so it's definitely an honor to perform.
Is there a different preparation? I mean, obviously it's a larger stage and production and all that things, but is there a different preparation from this show to 15,000 people versus a normal club show or something
100%.
smaller? Yeah,
I mean, obviously from like a production standpoint, it's just a bigger stage,
right? But like mentality wise, like, is there a different approach to it? Are you just going to stick with what you know and like?
Well, yeah, there's so many different reasons why it's different, and there's a lot of unknowns. So I can't, like, I don't even. I'm trying to anticipate, but I couldn't even fully tell you how different it is until afterwards, you know. But logistically speaking, you know, it's a bigger stage. I'm going to be moving around more. I'm smaller to most people, so like my body movement is different. The way that I move my arms and stuff, you know, like
more theatrical kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like would love to even talk with people who do, like someone like Mac, people who perform on that level, how it's different for them, because it's an unknown for me. I've done a few shows on that level and they've gone well, and so I'm confident, because one of the cool things about having an opportunity to get in front of such a large audience and a different level production is to see how your music translates into a new setting, AKA
big setting.
Like the pinnacle, like is my music stadium status or not? You know, and so to approach that with the band and with everything that you're doing, it's a cool little test. And so I've had a couple different shows. I did an arena show with him once in Oregon a few years ago, and you know, like I did the random We Day thing. I've done some big festival shows and stuff, and so I mean Sasquatch. A couple times I did Sasquatch. It was huge. Block Party. I mean, like, I'm comfortable in front of big crowds, and I really, it brings out a side of me. And so, like, it's an unknown, but you know that you're going to rise to the occasion. But then, it's like, it's a shorter set. You know, I'm not the headliner.
Nope.
Because you're not the headliner, there's a lot of production things that go into that. Like, you don't get to use all the lights. You don't get to step on this part of the stage. And so there's a lot of things you have to, like, plan for. But then, okay, you're still trying to, as an artist, you always want to not necessarily upstage, because you can't compete with like the cryo and all the crazy like lights and shit, but you try to fill those shoes and like and fit on that stage. And so we there's a lot of creativity and a lot of little like research and brainstorming that goes into like how do you make a set, especially when you're an opener. And I have 25 minutes. When I do my headlining tours, we do 85 minutes. So I'm cutting 60 minutes of material. Some of my most popular songs I'm not even performing. You know what I mean? And then you're thinking about the fact that even though I am known, especially in Seattle, there will be people who are fans. There will be people who are familiar, but only casually. And there'll be a lot of people who won't know the fuck I am. And so, like, what set do you do when it's that mix of crowd and 25 minutes? And so there's a lot of kind of it's fun though. Yeah. You know, it's like we're gonna do some new songs. We're gonna like we're doing shorter versions of certain songs, but you still don't want to like
cut it up too much.
Fuck with the flow of the song and make it only these like ADD
first verse. Yeah.
So we started rehearsing over a month ago.
I hear that you're super diligent with your rehearsals. Do you do 2-a-days? Like when leading up to tour, do you do 2-a-days? I had heard a rumor that you might do 2-a-days, like leading up to rehearsal or leading up to tour.
Yeah, no, I mean tour is pretty intense. It depends. We don't do the exact same thing twice a day.
Okay.
But like because I'm in the studio with the same people that I'm rehearsing with, we will, you know, like I'll have studio time booked in the morning and we're working on the arrangement, and then in the evening we're on the instruments or something. Or like the last tour, my bassist Elon did the light programming and learned how to do the programming in Ableton, and like that was definitely a 3-a-day for him. Like he was locked inside with the lights off, like programming these lights, you know. And so like that's one of the cool things about having such a close-knit group of people who are wearing so many hats is that when you do need to pull off crazy shit, like people are doing 2-a-days, people are doing things that is maybe not technically in their job title, because their job title is just to get shit done.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's encompassed in that.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, we do like we're gonna try to do a little like rapid fire, not serious, complex music questions now.
Okay.
A little personal is what we call it.
Yeah. Personal.
First one is most famous person in your cell phone.
Most famous person in my cell phone.
Yep.
Come on.
Wow.
Someone good? Anybody?
Yeah, there's probably a couple.
I'd like you to know, because you're friends with Nick, that Biba said his most famous person was Rick Ross.
Really?
Which I don't believe. He said it's a number he stole from like an old substitute teacher of his or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
or someone. I forget who it was.
And then he tried to play it off like, oh, it might be his.
He's like, oh, it might be an old
number.
one. I don't know. He wasn't ready to. Anyways,
Most famous person in my cell phone besides Macklemore, because that guy's crazy famous.
He's-
man. But like, I mean, a lot of people. You know, he's the home. I've known him since I was 14. So people that you wouldn't expect, I would have to say. Either Michael Bennett.
Oh,
okay.
You want to call him? It's game day, dude. He goes on the field in an hour. Come on,
he
let's
has
give him a
time.
call.
No.
Just
probably in the
we'll wish
locker
him good
room.
luck. We'll wish him good luck. Okay.
No.
Michael Bennett or who?
Yeah, no, and he's a super dope guy. Like
Yeah.
I could definitely hit him up. Like there's been a few people on the Seahawks that I've built a relationship with. Him and
Sick.
Cliff Averill. Cliff Avrill's also Haitian and does a lot of dope
cool.
stuff back in Haiti. Other like random ones would probably be like G-Eazy or that kid Black. Have you heard of Black?
Oh my god.
He and I have been homies since like 2014. We actually have a few songs together.
What?
That never came out. Just
Oh.
from a band.
What?
Secret
Yeah.
project, breaking news.
Yeah.
Breaking news on the pod. Soul
Yeah.
has a couple songs of Black. That's wild. What,
Yeah.
So they just won't ever come out. What's? They're too old now.
This to sound crazy, but they weren't as dope as they could have been. Like sometimes when you get in the studio for the first time with somebody, like things don't connect right away. That wasn't necessarily exactly what happened. They just didn't make it onto my project. They didn't make it onto the project that he was working on at the time, and then we both kind of just started working on new stuff. You know what I mean? But we're still homies, which is I always appreciate. You know, when things change for people, they can change.
Yeah.
And that guy is literally the exact same person. He came out to Seattle with no money in his pocket, and we were friends from the internet. We had both been featured on some sort of Pigeons and Planes list or something, and we followed each other. And when he was randomly in Seattle, he ended up spending. I just picked him up and took him to eat fish and chips. First time he had fish and chips. He's from Atlanta,
Really?
which is kind of surprising that he hadn't had. But he just told me that. He just told me recently that he was like, man, that was crazy. We were down at the pier and he's like feeding the seagulls like his fries, you know. And it was just like a crazy like. And for me, a lot of the relationships that I do have through music are because. I'll know people passively just through the music business, and when they come through Seattle, they hit me up or I reach out, and it's just so important for me that people have a positive experience when coming through Seattle.
Yeah.
It's really interesting for me to think about what is it like to come to Seattle as just another stop on tour. Like, what is that like for you? And so if I have an opportunity to be hospitable, which is just the way I was raised, I will be. And so he ended up staying for about 3 days out here with me, and we recorded a bunch of stuff. And so I would say, like, because he's been killing it lately, I would say that he's like my favorite famous person.
That's tight. That's tight. Favorite famous person I had.
All right. Who wins in a fight between Quavo, Offset, and Takeoff?
Oh wow, these are random.
Yeah, right.
I have to say Offset for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the most like stocky. Takeoff kind of has the dad bod. Quavo's
You know,
hella skinny.
Takeoff is Quavo's uncle.
Yeah, they're all related,
They're all
like cousins, uncle,
It's
blah, blah,
crazy.
blah, yeah. But I would say that, I mean, Offset, it has, I think, the thickest build, and he also spent some time. So
It's true, he did.
So he has probably a little bit of extra.
He's got an edge.
He's got more edge, and
Yeah.
although Quavo is like some crazy athlete, I've seen him.
He played quarterback in high school.
Yeah,
He's like-
and I've seen him
some-
hoop randomly on the
Yeah.
internet, and he was hooping on some fools.
Yeah, he probably
but
balls.
he's so skinny, like he's a twig.
That's
so
true.
I feel like hopefully they never get in a fight because they're family. And
They'll-
they're,
yeah,
and they're-
that's true.
And
I
they're a
bet.
dope
All right.
group.
Offset's my favorite. I like Offset.
Yeah. Are you really related to Phoenix Jones?
Not by blood. That's actually
I don't even know where you found that.
Yeah. So that's the family who I worked with like at the restaurant.
Tight.
So it was his family that had the restaurant. They were my neighbors my whole life. His family, and so his older brother and I are super involved in his kid's life. Phoenix Jones has a son, Freedom, who's my godson, and so it really, really is like family stuff, you know. And Phoenix and I, or Ben, let's just call him Ben.
Well, explain quickly who Phoenix Jones is. to anybody.
His identity has been revealed. Ben Fodor, is one of my best friends in life, although he's out of his mind. At some point became like a self-proclaimed superhero and started dressing up as a mass vigilante and trying to fight crime.
He would be in the streets though.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he would get into situations.
He would get into shit, but it usually was just like breaking up bar fights and
Yeah,
stuff.
it
But
wasn't like-
he would try to confront random crack dealers, and I'm just like, man, one of these days you're just gonna get shot in the face. You know, like
He had to been wearing some, like,
yeah, but like, what's not? If someone
true.
shoots you in the head, like,
it doesn't matter.
you know, it doesn't matter if you have a
mask you
bulletproof
have
vest
on.
on, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm the godfather to his son, so that shit was not funny to me, but it was funny to everybody else, and I understand why.
Right.
But he's crazy for that, and so it's kind of toned down because he's been doing it now for a while.
I was gonna say, I haven't seen him in a minute.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. He's an interesting guy, the most interesting person in my life for sure.
Easily?
Yeah, and he also was my rap partner when I started out.
Really?
So yeah, I was in a group until I was about 15, 16, and then he just wasn't really taking it seriously, and it was my life. So
Yeah.
I kept going.
What was the rap group called?
Oh man, dude.
Come on, dude. You
So
were
all
ready for that.
right, we formed the group when we were 10 years old.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. And
10 years old?
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
started.
God. I don't think
rapping
I'd listened to
was
rap
10.
when I was 10.
I was already
I'm sure
deep
you
in
were
the
in it.
game, and we were called GIT, which was Good Intention Thugs.
Ooh.
But we're not thugs. And our mentor Isaac Meek, who really like brought me up in this game, called us Gangsters in Training.
Gangsters in Training,
GIT.
GIT. Okay. Yeah, that's nice.
Never graduated from the Gangster Academy.
No, never
No.
did. You
Yeah.
were too young.
And just not. I'm not a gangster.
That's- yeah.
But at 10 years old, I thought that was the move.
Yeah.
So that's why I also had some really bad rap names that I won't share. But
Come on, man.
but
You can't
Yeah, you
tease
can't
that.
say that.
Can we have one?
But that's why I just went by Saul. I was like, my name Saul will always
I'll
be
be Saul.
like, it's good.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's an interesting enough normal name.
Right.
Normal name. It's your actual name.
Yeah,
so it's like,
exactly.
If
So-
you were like Dave, well, no offense to Dave or any other Daves.
No,
are
yeah,
all real
you
people.
got to add a B to it.
That's true.
Or Dave East.
There's
or
an
whatever.
actual rapper out there called Dave though.
Just straight
Yeah,
Dave.
Straight Dave. It's
Yeah.
all caps, I guess.
Just like
but,
Kyle. or
Yeah,
whatever.
Kyle does a good job there.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes it's like Kyle period.
Yeah,
Or
it
there's
used
some
to be,
way.
yeah, there's always.
Or
Super duper Kyle, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've gone through my little phases. Like at one point, I was doing all caps Saul.
Okay.
But I don't like that, and so I've been trying to get that. I just got my Spotify to change back to like
yeah.
normal,
Yeah.
like just capitalize the Saul.
Yeah.
At one point, a lot of my social media is Saulzilla because
Saul,
Saul will
right.
be taken already or whatever. But it is kind of complicated. At one point, like I was on like the 24th page of Google when you would search Saul. And now I'm on
yeah?
the first page,
There you go.
which was
That's
like
good.
I told myself I was going to throw a party when I got there, and I never did. But
Google party?
I'm now at like the top when you search.
Yeah.
So
For a while, your music on Spotify, when you type in Saul, some of your songs
Oh,
or your
different
profile
artists?
would it would be like some
different
Latin.
no, I know, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's the
Same
struggle,
yeah,
man. That's
I'm
the struggle.
sure. I'm
yeah,
sure.
sometimes I wonder what it's like for those other artists.
Oh my!
Because it's better
Yeah,
for me.
no,
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I just have the nuisance of like their song being on my profile. Their
Right.
whole profile is like buried.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so-
Well, this is a weird one to end on, so we'll see where it goes. But have you ever heard the theory that Avril Lavigne is dead?
No.
Avril Lavigne, dead or alive. So there's a theory that in 2003, her grandfather passed away, so she committed suicide. So then the next album, which is entitled Under My Skin, they had hired her record label had already had a girl, I forget her name, but a girl, a lookalike. It was a doppelganger that they would send out at media events because she didn't like dealing with the paparazzi. So this girl looks exactly like Avril Lavigne, that she would just be out there as like a fake. So the paparazzi would swarm her and then Avril could go around the back or whatever. So there's a theory.
So
that's
that
very,
was true. That was confirmed.
that is the paparazzi thing is real. This is a real woman named Melissa or something like that. So there's a theory that then this next record that once Avril Lavigne died, quotation marks around that they sent this doppelganger out to continue making money under the name of Avril Lavigne.
Damn.
And there's like Rolling Stones just wrote about this. This is a theory that came out like again in 2000 years ago, whatever. But Rolling Stones put out an
And then
article
she hasn't
this
really done
year.
anything since
Well,
then,
yeah, she's
yeah.
put out some songs here and there, but they're drastically different. I mean, that could be for many reasons.
There's theories of like people look at her handwriting.
She has different handwriting now. Her eyes are
look
different. She has different freckles that are gone. Like, it's a lot of really crazy shit, but none of it's ever really been debunked other than just people being like, no, she's alive. But like, you couldn't really know. So we're hoping that we're going to ask this question to many people.
You guys are feeding.
Yeah, dude. We're going to see if people can get
feeding
into it.
the conspiracy.
And hope that one artist is like, yes, she's totally give into it. But
It sounds believable to me.
yeah.
But
are
I
there any conspiracy theories that you believe in?
I think. Oh yeah, I'm a big conspiracy theory person.
Earth
but
is flat. Kyrie.
No, fuck
Okay.
that. It's all. And, I actually don't. I think like even the term conspiracy and then conspiracy theory, I don't like because it makes it automatically puts the theory into a category like this is some wonky like weird.
It's
like,
questionable.
It's questionable when it's like, yo, no, some of the shit is real. So don't try to categorically make me sound crazy by like calling it a conspiracy, you know, like or a theory or whatever. Like, so I mean, the CIA just admitted that a bunch of things recently. There's been a lot of stuff that's been coming out, but like they were involved in assassinating Patrice Lumumba, who was the prime minister of the Congo and was like the Martin Luther King of Africa, and it's like that's been a conspiracy since it happened, and now it's been proven. And so there's so many of these things that are just like, yeah, that's totally believable to me. If they would do that, then of course they were involved in assassinating Dr. King, and they would have plenty of reasons to assassinate JFK. Or there's so many things. There are, you know, all these files that came out, like when Trump was like, "Oh, we're going to release the JFK files."
Yeah.
A lot of the JFK stuff like reaffirmed some of the theories that are already out there. But there's a lot of other stuff that didn't even like really, to me. I mean, of course, the news is talking about these things, but it was released. This is real shit. Where like there was a plan by the CIA, or maybe it was the FBI. Basically, the American government, a plan to bomb Miami.
Oh yeah.
To bomb our own city.
To make it seem like
and
Cuba.
to frame Castro.
Yeah.
To then justify going in and removing him and like having like a heavy military like attack on Cuba.
Wow.
And it didn't go through, but it's like if they would do that, why wouldn't they do something like 9/11? You know, I mean, that's crazy. I don't think that 9/11 is an inside job, but when one of these things is like true, then it's like any of these things are believable.
For sure.
But as far as the Avril Lavigne thing, I think if the label was really trying to make money, I think this is going to sound weird, but I think you probably end up making more money off of post-mortem record sales than fake songs and a fake persona after the artist is out.
Most successful thing you can do is die. That's what they always say.
At least for the label. Right?
Yeah. Like, that's
so. From a financial reason, I would say that would debunk the theory.
Okay, I like that.
I don't see as big of a reason why they would do it.
I'm a believer that she's alive. I definitely am. I like Avril. I mean, I don't know what's not to like, but it's one of those things that it's like a funny thing that like. Could you imagine if your life like every day you were getting like mentions in your Twitter of like you're dead, you know, like like legitimately like hundreds of thousands of people in the world thinking you are actually dead. Yeah. Like that's kind of weird, and you don't really have a way. Weird. Like I don't know any way that she can really prove it. Like at this point,
yeah, that's why fame is such a complicated thing.
Wild,
it's like, man, is that really cool? Like all the different things that people say about you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're ending on an Avril Lavigne question. That makes sense.
Anything you want to plug?
Anything?
New music coming out soon?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of new songs by the time that this comes out that'll be out already. Hopefully the project will be done sooner than later.
Full thing?
I feel, it's like right now it's 10 songs, but I've recorded many more than that. But it's a really, really cohesive, dope collection of 10 songs right now.
Nice.
Might end up being 12, might end up being 8. I don't know. Like I'm still figuring it out. Some days it feels one way, some days it feels another. But I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm really proud of it. So, you know, people who are either familiar or not familiar, I think this new music is a great thing to sit down and listen to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, shout out Saul. Thank you for being on the pod, man. We appreciate it. Yeah. Hopefully we can have you back when you're, I don't know, when the next thing's out. Something like that.
For sure.
We do it once a year.
Yeah, once a year.
Okay.
Once a year project.
I like it.
Nice.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Cool.
And that was Soul.
Soul. Ooh, that was a good one. I should always do that.
Shout out.
Thanks again to Soul for sitting down. A very, very nice guy. He sat down. He was one of the first people we interviewed too, so he was really like, all right, I'll do this for you guys.
He might actually be a friend of the pod.
He actually is a friend of the pod. I could say. No, everybody is technically and legally binding that they have to be a part of the pod.
He's technically... we didn't even make him sign anything. That's how close he was.
Thankfully. That's it for this episode. Next week, we have a good one. It might be coming out on Wednesday due to some traveling, but, you know, thanks for sticking with us. It will be a good one. I think we're going to be dropping the Shamir episode, which is awesome. He just dropped a surprise album today. If you're not familiar with Shamir, you have to get familiar with it because it's very, very interesting. We did it in a bar too, so we'll adult there for you.
It was fun. Again, everyone subscribe.
Tell a friend.
Tell all your friends.
Reviews.
God.
Gosh, come on, you
Love y'all.
guys. This is really all of your fault if this doesn't become a big thing.